Hi everybody, how's everybody doing? Like I promised, I'm here this week. And this week, I'm going to talk about years 2 to 5, the best to the knowledge that I know. Um, but honestly, it's going to start when I'm 3. But first, I want to say hi to General John Miller. And if you have any more questions, just let me know, and I'm glad to answer them. I hurt my elbow a couple weeks ago because of the calluses and stuff. They broke open. It is doing better. It's still hurting, but it'll get better. And now to my story. I was age 3. I was in the hospital. I had just had surgery done on my legs. Actually, my hips, because I had wishbone legs. I looked like a wishbone. They stuck out that far. And I remember scooting on the floor with these legs sticking out everywhere, but I still made it work. I was still able to get around. I was called Scooter at that time because I scooted everywhere. But anyway, I had surgery. They were trying to correct this problem, so I ended up having, I think it was 3 surgeries in 1 year due to this situation where they were trying to bring my legs in closer so that I didn't look so weird. I was basically doing the splits. But anyway, it was really close to my birthday when I had the surgery. I think it was like 2 or 3 days till my birthday. I had woke up the next morning after surgery and I was so sick. I mean, extremely sick. But I was in an Elmo recovery room in this body cast in a little crib, but it was metal. It was all silver, so it looked like you were kind of in a prison. Felt like it too, but we won't get into that. Sorry, got an itch in my throat. But anyway, after the surgery and after I woke up in recovery, I was there a good, I think, 2 days or something because I was having issues with the anesthetic. I kept getting sick all over the place. Well, during this time, and this is really the only reason I can remember this, is because the nurses and doctors there, and the one that actually did the surgery, he brought in a cake, a birthday cake, and it had Mickey Mouse on it, because like I said, I'm a big, huge Disney fan. I love Mickey Mouse. But he brought in the cake, and then the nurse brought in this card that stood as tall as the crib, and it had a big Mickey Mouse on it that somebody drew. One of the nurses drew it for me because they knew how big into Mickey I was. And all I could see when I opened my eyes was this big old card. I fell in love with it. It was cool. It was the neatest thing in the world to me. And they were my family. Shriners Hospital was my family for quite a while. So I got everything from them basically that I wanted. And I mean, basically anything I wanted. We got to eat the cake with the kids, all the kids in the area of the recovery center. It was cool because we had a little party and balloons and stuff. Because at the time, we didn't know that I was highly allergic to balloons. So we had balloons and everything, and I guess my eyes and everything swelled up that night, and they didn't know what the cause was. They never did find out that at that time that I was allergic to balloons. So after my birthday, I remember I had to be in there for like almost a year, and they decided that they were going to start letting me go around in this wheelchair. Well, this wheelchair was cool too, because instead of it being like a regular wheelchair, the whole thing laid down. Like you could sit it up or you could lay it down. And because I was in this body cast, I couldn't sit up, so they laid it down, and I would just be on my stomach, and I could push the wheelchair that way, or somebody behind me could push me. It was kind of cool for that, because once I figured out how to actually push the thing, I was all over the place. I was bothering the nurses and the doctors and anybody I could get to pay attention to me. I was getting them to pay attention to me because I was bored. You're stuck in a hospital. There's not much else you can do besides watch TV, and I wasn't a TV person. I never have been. Well, that's a lie. I am now, but I only watch like Snapped and Law and Order, Criminal Intent, and SVU, and those kind of shows. I'm big on to true crime and stuff like that. But anyway, I think I was there from age 3 to age 5-ish, somewhere around there. And then I got to go home. Well, I wasn't home for very long, I promise that. Because within that year, I ended up breaking my legs on the school bus. The bus driver was taking me to school, and somehow one of my legs got caught on the ramp that they used to bring the wheelchairs in, and I was in that lay down wheelchair because I was still in cast, but they weren't connected anymore. They were just lay down cast. I was finally getting to the point where they were starting to straighten out. So we went to school, but anyway, my foot got stuck somewhere in the ramp and ended up snapping that ankle, my left ankle. That same instant, my other leg hit the door of the bus ramp and ended up breaking my femur on that one, on the other leg. So instead of being okay, making it to school and everything, they ended up having to call an ambulance and taking me back to the hospital. At that point, I was at DMH though, and they basically just recasted up my legs, make sure they were straight and stuff, and I got to go home that night. But shortly after that, when I was actually home for a while, I started to learn to do things on my own, because like I told you last week, I do not like help. So what I would do, I wanted to teach myself to eat. I was very, very, very eager to learn how to eat on my own, because I hated people feeding me. That was the worst part of the whole thing, I think, to me. It was embarrassing. Even though I was young, I still knew that was not something you wanted to be done at age 5. So what I would do is I would lay on the floor, and my mom or dad, whoever, would put my food beside me. So I was basically laying on my side, my right side, and I would use my left arm. But the way I did it is I would have to lift my left leg up in the air, and I would take my arm and place it right above my knee, like where the femur is, I guess, the long bone. I would put my arm there, and each time I would go to get a bite, I would inch my arm down to make a scoop on the plate, meanwhile holding the plate with my right elbow so that it wouldn't go anywhere. And that's how I started teaching myself to eat. I made mess after mess after mess, but I finally got good at it, and that's how I started teaching myself to eat. Shortly after that, my brother Sean, like I've told y'all, wanted me to start walking, and I was scared to death to walk. So he taught me to walk, but the way he did it is I was in braces at this point because I was done with the cast. I think I was about 6 or almost 7 when he started teaching me to walk. And I was in these braces that went all the way up to my hips. And I used a walker, but I wasn't constantly walking. I was always in the wheelchair. But he wanted to teach me to walk. So what he did was he would take a drink because I love drinks. When I was a kid, I couldn't get enough to drink. I always wanted to drink. So he would stick a drink at the end of the wall, like across the room, and I could not have a drink of it until I reached that cup. And he started, he started with the walker, and then he would move from the walker to using my hands. Like he would hold my hands and we'd walk together. And that was easy, I got to the cup pretty easy. But then he got to the point where he wanted me to start walking without the walker and assistance. And it took us a long time. A long time. I think I was almost 10 by the time I actually was able to go, self-reliant walking on my own. And we did this. And it was Mother's Day when I finally was able to actually take my steps without any help. So we made my mom breakfast in bed for Mother's Day. And he went in there first with the food, and I walked in behind him just on my own. Took me a few, but I walked in on my own. And I think that was the first time I saw my mom tear up in enjoyment, because I actually was walking to her. So she gave me a big hug and told me she was proud of me, and she told Sean she was proud of him. But that's really the only time I remember that much emotion coming from my mom that I would remember, holding on to. Let me put it that way. It gets more intense down the road, but I'm trying to keep it fun and stuff right now. But anyways, that's how I learned to walk and how I learned to eat. Eating was on me. I did that myself. I taught myself everything to do with eating on my own. I've also taught myself to go to the bathroom. That was a challenge, but it was fun. I'll explain that next week. And there's not too much into it. I won't go graphic or anything. But anyway, I just wanted to let y'all know I'm still here, still doing the videos, and I'm going to keep on doing them. I know I'm not getting very many likes or subscribes, but that's okay. I hope you all have a good day, and I will see you next Sunday. I hope your New Year's was good and everybody's doing well right now. Again, another shout out to the Misery Machine and a hi to General John. I think that's it. I will talk to you guys next Sunday. You guys have a good day. Bye.